Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great, and appreciate you stopping by. So, a couple pieces of news for your Miami Heat, rounding out the Summer League roster, which is going to be an exciting time. The Miami Heat going to try and defend their Vegas Summer League. They'll do the California Classic thingy as well. But some news yesterday as the Miami Heat bringing back a former local hero, as former FAU star, spent this past year at Michigan, Vlad Goldin, center from the Michigan Wolverines and FAU Owls, has signed a two-way deal with the Miami Heat. 7'1", 7'5" wingspan, born in Russia. Great accent. I mean, you guys know. I mean, I don't have to tell you. My love of Sergei Bobrovsky, Nikola Jovic, or Goran Dragic will tell you how much I love a great accent. And this man is no different. So very excited about that. But signing a two-way deal with the Miami Heat, interesting in a couple of rounds because Miami, it appears, is going to part ways with Isaiah Stevens and Josh Christopher. Neither was on the Summer League roster that got released yesterday. And that would entail, now they can't give Josh Christopher a two-way deal because he's got too many years of service. They have a qualifying offer out to Drew Smith. Now, mind you, Drew Smith is still recovering from surgery. We don't know when he's going to be good to go and fully cleared and ready to play basketball. But from what I gather so far is he has not signed his two-way deal, so we don't know. I mean, he may go find another opportunity, but we know how much the coaching staff loves Drew Smith, so we'll have to check that one out. But this one is going to take up one of the spots, and so between him, Josh Christopher, and Isaiah Stevens, one of them is now going to Vlad Goldin. And I'm trying to think. I don't remember exactly on two-way deals. I feel like the two-way deal is in a spot where I think you can get poached with a standard deal. I think is how it goes. But basically, it gives you the chance to transfer. You cannot be postseason eligible. You'd have to be on I know that. You have to be on a standard deal to be ready for the postseason. But Vlad Goldin will be able to get some time in Sioux Falls and get some time with the Miami Heat should they need some roster help, should Khalil Ware get banged up. But certainly the man is an absolute moose, turned 24 in May, and gets to go to his old stomping grounds down here in South Florida, which is really exciting. I mean, it was one of those seasons for him. Led the Michigan Wolverines with 16.6 points per game, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1.4 blocks. Dude can block the basketball with those giant arms. Very much a traditional center, not a guy who stretches the floor, not a guy who is going to provide any of that, but is an absolute friggin' moose. And it is, I think, a nice little signing for the Miami Heat. Going to be excited to see. We saw that he wore number 50, so maybe if he brings that back, you go with the old Joel Anthony magic in that number. But pretty exciting that the Heat add a little bit of muscle to their bench. And then, because it is interesting, we were talking a lot about the needs of the Miami Heat, and it feels like, with Nico, Khalil, Bam, Kevin Love is coming back, but we don't know what the situation there as far as, because Kevin had such a hard year last year with everything he was dealing with personally. Hell, man, we don't know what a Kevin Love is going to look like. It's not like he's 100 years old, but certainly was not a guy that looked in tune with playing basketball last year just because of everything he was dealing with. Didn't look like he was necessarily in the best shape. So, maybe this is a summer where Kevin Love was going to turn 37 right before the season starts. Still has a little bit of juice in him? Or is it just the case that he is there to be, morale guy, great leadership, great connector of the locker room, and bring that to the table? So those are going to be some interesting questions that Miami has to deal with. But certainly, like, if Kevin is on the other side of it and he can't produce like he used to, certainly Miami is going to need a little bit more bulk on their bench, and I think this is going to be an interesting tryout. Now we'll get, the first look at him as a guy with Vlad Goldin. He was on the FAU team that did make the Final Four, so you're just not like, totally FAU. I mean, this was a magical run, many years with Dusty May, who of course then took the Michigan job. So has definitely played some high level basketball. And so excited to see what he can bring to the table for your Miami Heat. The other piece, they added Steve Settle III to an Exhibit 10 deal, which is essentially summer league camp tryout deal. You get to be around the team. You're going to be at training camp. He had a few seasons at Howard and then played the last 2 seasons with the Temple Owls. Had 12.6 points per game, led the team in rebounds and blocks per game, 6.2 rebounds, 1 block a game, 1 steal a game. Had a very good season shooting the basketball at his size at 40% from downtown. 3 straight seasons with 30-plus blocks, so finished there. Stealing the basketball, he had 31 this year. He had the season before and had 50 steals in 30-plus games, so did a really, really great job of deterring guys, and just an interesting prospect to check out. Like, obviously is one of those where he's also got a little bit of a longer polish, but you're talking undrafted guy, tryout deal. Be interesting to see what he can bring to the table for this team. And you always just trust the eye of what these guys at the Heat are, do a pretty damn good job of seeing who's out there and what, certainly what they can bring to the table. Undrafted last year was Keyshawn Johnson, who I think was originally on a 2-way and then earned his way to a standard deal after he was doing so good in the summer league. Remember, there was I think there was a decision there for a second on Drew Smith, and then Drew Smith unfortunately had the injury that they had to deal with. So Keyshawn, he's locked into a standard deal. So that Pella, Keyshawn Johnson, Kalel's going to play a little bit, I think, in the summer league, but he's not going to play a ton. I'd imagine just a couple of games, and maybe one in Sacramento or San Francisco, wherever the hell they do it now, and then they'll probably do another one in and then maybe a couple more in Vegas, but I don't think he's going to play the entire way. And so Vlad Goldin, I think you're going to see get himself some good opportunity here to see what he can do with this team and where things go with them and what that team is going to provide. And it was revealed, I saw in Anthony Chang's article in the Miami Herald, that Eric Glass is going to be the coach again. So he's coached the summer league team a couple of times. Remember last year it was Dan Bisacchio, 10-Day Dan. Obviously did a great job. So they do a nice little rotation of this, whether it be him. A couple of years ago it was Caron Butler, Malik Allen. Happy birthday to him. So Eric Glass reportedly is going to get the reins this year for the Miami Heat. As today's the day they're going to introduce Kasparas Giacochonis to the media, and we'll be interested to see. I did watching all of Adam Simon's press conference on him. It was revealed today he's going to wear number 25. That gym rat, no other hobbies but basketball. Love that. And that the interesting thing that he said, because there was a lot of questions about his defense, and I don't know if he's going to be good at defense or not, but I thought that he said an interesting thing where he goes like, look, man, most rookies come into the league, they stink at defense. Most of them. Maybe you have a guy like Pella who doesn't look like he's drowning, but even Pella, wasn't going to get the respect of the officials, on reach-ins. He was getting the Duncan Robinson 2 fouls, 2 minutes, because the referees are just we're not going to let this kid just go out there and do whatever he wants. But man, it's an interesting one. There's been so much positive praise other than the strange Kevin O'Connor. Kevin O'Connor not only gave the Heat a D+, but he also then went in to say on his podcast and convinced his podcast host that the Heat had the worst draft of any team drafting, which I got to be honest with you, understand that I'm biased here and that I'm going to defend the Heat. Could you think of a dumber take than saying somebody drafting 20 had the worst draft? You would have to draft a guy who was a second rounder, bar none, who had no film on him to go out there and be the 20th pick in the draft had the worst. I get it. You cannot like a prospect. But first of all, it was odd that he had the prospect. I think he had Giacochonis. I think he had 14th So not a reach in this guy's eyes. It's not like you had him as a second-round talent. But then to convince your podcast compadres there to be like, yeah, they had the worst draft. Definitely, they had the worst draft. Like, wait, hold on. Not only do you guys have a terrible take, you're on consensus here on Yahoo that this is a guy you think is the worst just because he turned the basketball over a little bit. I don't know, man. That was strange. It was a take. It would have been fine if anybody else got a bad grade. But like literally I looked through his grades. It's like somebody got like a C-. Nobody got a D. And so like you have to really, really like hate the player to be like, yeah, I'm giving the Heat a D on that pick. What? It's just a strange take to have. Very, very weird. Very, very weird. But he is getting introduced today with Pat Riley. We'll have reaction to that press conference and whatnot. See what the new Heat rookie has to say as far as that's concerned. But adding Vlad Goldin, hoot hoot, new FAU Al, part of the Miami Heat organization.